Hey there, Danielle Matthews here. I am coming to you live from Florida. And if you're just coming across my content, I am on a mission to help people break free of PTSD, of their past, of the memories that are pulling them down, and be able to start to sow the seeds and nurture the seeds for post-traumatic growth to bloom. I teach a lot of ancient wisdom for these modern times, and today is Monday. It is noon here Eastern time where I am in Florida, and so we are jumping into our book. If this is your first time joining us, it doesn't matter if you've been in book club in the past or if you've been here each and every week. We are reading Wayne Dyer's work, The Power of Intention, and each and every week it is phenomenal to see that each chapter is a standalone conversation and insight, and this week was all about stress. So, good morning, Peg. If you are someone that in the last week got frustrated, lost your temper, felt overwhelmed, felt anxiety, this is for you. And for all of you on book club, as you arrive here this morning, just let me know that you're here in the comments. Sometimes it takes a little while for everything to kick in. So I adore this book. Hey, Charlotte, good to see you. Rule number 6. Did anyone else crack up with that conversation about rule number 6? I know we'll get into it, but I was like, that was so good. What a good reminder. Don't take yourself so goddamn seriously. Good reminder. So I can't wait to talk about that. Hey, Larry, good to see you. Charlotte, North Carolina. I'm sure it is good weather near you. All right, guys, let's jump in. We only have a half hour together, so it's always full of conversation. The chapter kicked off, I thought, with a really awesome quote, and it said, so long as we believe in our heart of hearts that our capacity is limited and we grow anxious and unhappy, we are lacking in faith. One who truly trusts in God has no right to be anxious about anything. And I thought, you know what? That's like when the first chapter we read in here, he talked about those people that are connected, the connectors. And if you are tapped into intention, if you are connected in and you realize that that's always there, you can't be unconnected unless you want to, you have no right to ever be anxious, right? You can have complete faith. Hey, Leah, good to see you. I thought, I'm going to just start on page 188. He says, there's nothing natural about living a life filled with stress and anxiety, having feelings of despair and depression, and needing pills to tranquilize yourself. Agitated thoughts are violating your natural state. It's so profound. So let me ask you this. Do you ever find yourself doing this? Having these thoughts in your own head that are actually stress producing? Things like, it's more important for me to be right than to be happy. That right there is going to cause a lot of stress. Like so many times in life, we want to be right and we create unhappiness because the person's not listening, the situation's not listening, the politicians got it all wrong, the law has it wrong, whatever. Leah says, I just fought that this morning. Yeah. How many of you have ever been caught in the ego trap of winning is the only thing? When you lose, you should be stressed out. I grew up like a big athlete, and so it was always about winning, achieving, performing, being at the best. If you're not number one, then what the heck's wrong with you? Like, get yourself going. I resonated with that a lot. I went, oh, shoot. It's probably still present in my life. Your reputation is more important than your relationship with Source. That one kind of struck me in the heart. Like, oh, am I more concerned about what people think about the way maybe that I believe in what my faith is that more important to me than being true to myself and having this relationship with Source, with the divine, with the power of intention? Super interesting. Leah says, I'm a professional performer. Yeah. Success is measured in dollars and accumulations rather than in feeling happy and content. How many have ever been stuck in that trap? I think society is stuck in that ego trap, in that success is measured in dollars and accumulations, right? Keeping up with the Joneses. Well, they have that, so I need this. I need X amount of money per month. I need to make double that now. And once I get there, I need to double that, and I need to double that. And it's like, when is it ever enough, right? It's supposed to be about, success should be about happiness and feeling content. Happiness and feeling content. All right, the last one that he said is like one of these originating ego thoughts that's going to drive you nuts. Being superior to others is more important than being kind to others. Showing that you're better than rather than connecting in. You know, the way that you treat somebody that has no ability to give back to you, how do you do that? Do you get into your head of, oh, I'm better than you and I figured out this game of life better than you did? Or do you come into compassion and do you start connecting from the heart space with them? Very different. He says, it's natural to have feelings of well-being. Why is it that we seem to experience so much unwellness and tension? If the natural state is happiness and contentment, why is it that we experience so much unwellness and so much of that emotional stress? And he says it's because of the ego. The ego is constantly playing tricks in our own mind. He says the pesky ego is at work when we're experiencing stress or anxiety. I love this. Perhaps your ego self feels more effective dealing and coping with stress because you feel you're actually doing something in the world. Uh-oh. So are you addicted to stress because it makes you feel like you're doing something? Perhaps it's habit. Perhaps it's custom. Perhaps it's believing that this is the right way to be. Only you can analyze the why, but the fact is that stress is familiar and tranquility is unfamiliar. So your ego desires stress. Isn't that wild? Charlotte says, I can identify with this one. I can too. I mean, have you ever found yourself, like I have found myself, I'll speak for myself. When I don't have something to do, not that doing is always stressful, but when I'm not doing, it doesn't feel natural. Like when I'm relaxed or like literally don't make a plan for the day or whatever, it's a very unnatural state for me. And I worry, like I get anxious, like I should be doing something. Isn't it fascinating? Babies don't do that. Babies are just very content being. Charlotte agrees with me. Yeah, you have that happen too. Maybe it's just me, but he says there's no actual stress or anxiety in the world, only people engaged in stressful thinking. Profound. Marie says, I think sometimes it is just habit, a bad habit. Yeah, it is. I think as well, to just not, we're so used to doing, we're not so used to being, and realizing that, hey, that actually is a natural state. We can do that. But I thought this was an interesting notion that there is actually no stress. There is actually no anxiety. Like if you go into the world, there is no stress and no anxiety. And I would say most people would disagree with that statement. Most people would say, yeah, there's a ton of stress. There's a ton of things to be anxious about. But the truth is, it's all in your mind. It is your thoughts. It is your preferences. It is your fears that are only playing in here. It's not actually in the world. Like how wild is that? That there is no stress. There is no anxiety. There are just people engaged in stressful thinking. And you might be one of those people. So good news is he's given us some ways to get out of this. There were 3 that he kind of dove into, and I thought they were hilarious. I talked about this at the beginning. Rule number 6. Who here loved rule number 6? I was dying laughing. I read it again, and I was like, that's a fantastic rule. Larry says, how many times do we stress about things that never happen? Exactly. Like our minds are so worried about all these scenarios, and I would say 95% of them never occur. But that stress, the body has felt the stress. Like you've created the conditions of dis-ease in the body, and you do that long enough and you do that repetitively enough, you're actually going to cause dysfunction in your physical being, in the physical body, because of what the mind is doing. That's what's wild. And if you don't understand that relationship, this book, I just read through it. It was like, we're reading this book together, and then I came across this book. It's called Body Mind. I couldn't put it down. So it's all about the connection between the way that you think and perpetually are, and how that then manifests in the physical body. Absolutely mind-blowing how on point this is. And the more that you are in your stress state, in your thinking, worrying about, as Larry says, all the things in the future, or about the past and how you should have handled things and blah, 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 all you're doing is creating dis-ease in the present moment in the body. You're not solving anything. You're not solving a future problem. Like if you just realize you've got the power of intention always connected with you, how could anything ever go wrong? It can't. You show up fully in the present moment. You've worked on that connection. You are the 7 faces of intention, right? You bring the creativity. You bring the love. You bring the kindness. You bring the beauty. You remember that things are always in abundance, that things will always flow. You're receptive to how things are. You do that, and you're invincible. So why in the world would you let your ego talk you out of it? You know? The ego is just chatty Cathy up there having a lot to say that's worthless. So, with that, rule number 6. Put a 6 in the chat if you like. Did anyone else appreciate this as much as I did? This is where he's talking about the 2 politicians that are like having this conversation, and somebody walks in freaking out, and the one politician just looks at them and says, kindly remember rule number 6. And the person just like, oh, like it like vanishes and he walks out. Happens again. And, you know, he says, look, Marie, please remember rule number 6. And Marie just immediately resets herself. Larry says that was great. Yeah, rule number 6. The story makes rule number 6 memorable. Exactly. Karen gets it. Larry gets it. Charlotte gets it. Peg gets it. Amazing. So if you missed rule number 6, guys, Marie actually wrote it down in my phone. So she knows what to say when I get this way. When you get this way, you need to say, don't take yourself so goddamn seriously. That's rule number 6. And I love that the other, you know, politician says, well, what are the other rules? There are no other rules. There's just rule number 6. Don't take yourself so goddamn seriously. Like, it's not that big a deal. I know for me, like when I go outside at night and I look at the stars, that it's the same feeling comes over me of like, you're so small. This issue is so small in the vastness of the universe. Why in the world are you letting it dominate your world? Like, stop taking it so seriously. Just stop. Remember rule number 6. He says, as you encounter stress, pressure, and anxiety in your life, remember rule number 6 at the moment you realize that you're thinking stressful thoughts. When you find yourself saying things like, I'm more important than those around me. My expectations are not being met. I shouldn't have to wait. I'm too important. I'm the customer here. I demand attention. No one else has these pressures. When you find that chatty ego of yours being self-righteous and all of the stuff that it was, you know, chatting away saying, you just stop taking yourself so seriously. Knock it off. All right? That alone is like, I mean, there's a gem from every chapter, but that was a great gem in this chapter. Anyone else? Did anyone like try that in this last week as you've been reading this? I found myself in a little bit of like I saw like anger come up, which is like a rare thing for me. I don't have that happen a lot, but some anger came up and I was like, Danielle, stop taking yourself so goddamn seriously. Like, drop it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Open your heart, express love, see the divine in the person. Like, let's go. Charlotte says a lot of times she has this like, well, I shouldn't have to wait. Yeah, how dare you, right? I shouldn't have to wait. Yeah, there are these thoughts that kick in and it's like so funny. Like, you know, shouldn't happen to me. Don't you know who I am? You're a human being, just like the rest of us. And that's all there is to it. All right. He says the next thing that he kind of recommended was saying out loud, I want to feel good. I want to feel good. This was something that, you know, he says, send love and respect with the 7 faces of intention. So you must be to your feelings as source is to you in order to counteract the desires of your ego. So when your ego is being obnoxious, if saying rule number 6 doesn't snap you out of it, then just interrupting the programming, right? Interrupting this like broadcast of BS and saying, I want to feel good. It is my intention to feel good. And then shining the light of the 7 faces of intention, bringing love to those thoughts, bringing creativity to those thoughts, bringing beauty to those thoughts, bringing receptiveness to those thoughts. That'll disrupt it, right? It just changes that rhythm. Larry says, I can't wait to say it to someone else and see their reaction. Careful, Larry. Because sometimes these things, I say, use them as a mirror for yourself and not a sword on other people. If the person doesn't have the context and they're ticked off and you say, stop taking yourself so goddamn seriously, they're probably going to flip out at you even more. And maybe they'll snap out of it. Maybe. But likely, if their ego is like ablaze, they're probably not going to snap out of it. They're probably going to snap into a higher gear. So I would maybe share this story with them beforehand. Your loved ones, maybe share this. So then together you can remind each other of rule number 6 in a good way. Peg says, feeling good is feeling God. Yes. Feeling good is feeling God. That's exactly right. He was saying in this space, bring God into the moment, bring source, bring the divine, bring the 7 faces of intention into the moment to disrupt the thinking of the ego. I love Juliet. She's got the music. I feel good. Da-na-na-na-na-na. Exactly. Took me a minute with those musical notes. I was like, what is she talking about? That song. Play that song in your head. He says, any stress signal is a way of alerting you to say the 5 magic words, I want to feel good. Stress wants your attention. So, this is an interesting... In yogic philosophy, they have something called yoga therapy. And in yoga therapy, what the yogis say is that where you have stress in the body, so they're talking about like where you physically hold it in the body, it just needs attention to move through. So what happens is typically we stop feelings that are not good. We stop the anger. We stop these feelings. And what the yogi's saying, what he's saying is don't stop the flow of them, right? If you do that, then it gets stuck in your system somewhere. Maybe it's just in the closet somewhere, but it's, manifesting in your stomach every time you get stressed out. Another thing happens, you get more stomach issues. Rather than that, what the yogis say is go into where you hold your pain, go into where you hold the discomfort and just feel it, because it just needs to be felt so that the block goes away and it can flow through, and then it's gone. And he's saying the same thing. The stress just needs the attention. If you're blocking the stress, it's just going to build up and build up and build up and build up and build up. But if you give it attention, you let the experience flow through. It doesn't mean that you get engaged with the stress and you're going all over the place with it. It just means you're like, I see you. Like, let me shed light over here. Let me give love over here. Let me give acceptance over here. And when you make that space for it, it's no longer feeling like it's getting resisted and like banging around and not sure what to do. When you send it love, it relaxes and it feels like, oh, I just needed to be seen, and I just flow through. Think of it like a little kid. It's the same thing. Having a temper tantrum. What do you need to do? Give it love. Give it love. Don't ignore it and be mean to it. Just give it love, give it acceptance, and that flows through. This is huge. If you can learn how to do this, you're going to prevent yourself from having a lot of junk knotted up in your system, because that's what happens. If we don't let this stuff flow through, when we get stressed out, if we don't send that love, we don't know how to skillfully handle our emotions, we push them down or we react. But the idea is just go, oh, you're here. Okay, let me send love. Let me allow this to be here as I continue to operate. Yeah, good reminder. Agreed. All right. He says, I urge you to simply accept the fact that you'll never get it all done and begin to live more fully in the only moment that you have, which is now. The secret to removing the harmful effects of feeling stress and under pressure is to be in the now. So he says on page 194, you'll never get it all done. Was that like a slap in the face for anybody? I'm one of these that for a long time, it was like, okay, I gotta do this, and then I get here, and now I've accomplished that, but oh no, now there's this to do, and I gotta go do this, and I gotta go do this, okay, now I'm here, and oh gosh, now there's that to do, and I gotta do this. It's like, it leads to a straight state, like chronic stress. Because you're constantly feeling like, oh my gosh, there's more to get done, and for those of you in ASEA, for those of you that are entrepreneurs, which many of you that I'm looking at in the chat are, you constantly, if you're like me, feel like, well, there's always things to do. There's always things to do in my business, so I should be doing them. And when you don't do them, you're like, oh gosh, should I go be doing that? It's a crazy space to be in. Leah says true. Yeah, he says, look, you're never going to get it all done. But if you show up in the present moment fully, like we talked about, knowing I'm connected to source, I'm connected to the divine, I'm connected to intention, I can shine that light into whatever I'm doing right now, then, and only then, will you be able to not have stress. Because you're like, look, I'm here, and I'm going to fully be here. And when I'm fully here, everything works out. Peg says, overwhelm is paralyzing. Yes, the mind will paralyze you. Marie says, that's me. I have really Had to work on that for years. I was proud I could get so much done, but in turn, it was stressing me out and giving me back pain. Yes. It will manifest in your body. If you keep the dis-ease in the mind, it will manifest in your physical body. This book will blow your mind. Okay? This is like, holy cow. I want to read it like 100 more times. It shows you. He goes step by step through the pieces of the body. Like, how do you hold your feet? Are you flat-footed or do you have an arch? You know, to like even how your eyes are. You know, how you like hold your body. It's amazing. A lot of people hold stress in their back, for sure. I did too. Leah says, it always does manifest in my body. Oh my. Yeah, all of us. It manifests in all of our body. None of us are getting around this. It's the way the body-mind complex works. What happens in the mental body moves through the energy body into the physical body. I feel like I need to start doing workshops on this so people understand what this is. Because once you understand that that's the way it works, now you have the key to unlock. And that's something that, anyway, I need to start putting that together. Because the more and more I'm learning on this, I'm like, this will set everybody free. Okay, here's a little exercise. Why don't we try doing this? On page 196, well, don't cheat. Don't go and look. I want you to come up with your own. He basically says, like, here are some examples of sentences that will lead to a path of least resistance, because that's what you want. So, for example, he says, if you have the thoughts of, I feel uneasy about the state of the economy, I've always lost so much money, if that's something that you are uneasy about, how do you replace that mindset? You replace it with something like, I live in an abundant universe. I choose to think about what I have and I will be fine. The universe will provide. That's being present. That's not allowing yourself to think of the money that you lost before. It's not allowing yourself to worry about where the money's going to come from in the future. It's knowing the universe will provide. Intention is abundant and it's always giving and it has no end. So if you can be in the present moment knowing that, guess what's going to flow to you, people? Abundance, money. Whatever you need is going to come if you're present. But if you have these lacking thoughts of, I've lost so much money, it never works out. Excuse me. If you have that, the state of the economy is stressing me out. We're going through a recession. Inflation's out the, wazoo. What do? I'm stressed. Well, guess what? You're going to pull in more of that because that's the energy space you're holding and it just pulls and pulls and pulls. So instead, you just have to flip what you're saying and replace it with this. So let's think of something you can say. If you have thoughts of, I have so many things to do that I can never get caught up. If those are thoughts that you tend to have, what could you replace them with? This one's really easy. He says, I'm at peace in this moment. I'll only think about the one thing I'm doing. I will have peaceful thoughts. So if you're stressed out with, oh my God, I'm never going to be able to caught up on all the things I can do, just cut it and say, you know what? I'm going to be in peace at this moment. I'm only going to focus on what I have right now in front of me. Peg says, my money and I have a wonderful relationship. It works with me and soars to provide absolute abundance. Well said. Yeah, you just need little phrases to kind of check yourself. What's over here? Leah says, it always does in my, I read that. Louise Hay advocates mind-body. Yeah, Charlotte, she's got lots of insight on this. Leah says, I choose to appreciate what I am doing right now, and I will attract even greater opportunity. Yes, that's a great way to reset that conversation. You didn't jump the gun, Peg. I moved to the second one, so you did it. you did a good one. You didn't jump the gun. That was perfect. All right, how about this one? I can never get ahead in this job. How can you reset that? Or maybe for you all business owners, I can never get ahead in a SIA. I can never get to the rank. I can never hit my lifetime rank. What could you replace that thought with? Because if you're saying that, guess what, my loves? You're never going to hit your lifetime rank because that's what you're asking for. If you're saying I can never get ahead in this job, guess what's going to happen? You're never going to get ahead in the job. All right, so what can you replace that with? What can you say instead of that? Think about how you can move with ease. Peg says, this job gives me the opportunity to grow. Beautiful. So then what's going to happen in your job? You're going to constantly grow. Think about what it is that you want. He says, I choose to appreciate what I'm doing right now, and I'll attract an even greater opportunity. Yeah. My health is a huge concern. I worry about getting old and becoming dependent and sick. Yeah. If you're having those thoughts, guess what's going to happen? he says replace it with I'm healthy. I think healthy. I live in a universe that attracts healing, and I refuse to anticipate sickness. My family members are causing me to feel anxious and fearful. Well, I choose the thoughts that make me feel good, and this will help me uplift those family members in need. You are the one thinking about what your family is saying. Remember the chapter about family and relationships? Like, knock it off. You're doing this in your own head. I don't deserve to feel good when so many people are suffering. I didn't realize so many people had this issue. This hasn't occurred to me. I've always thought, well, the better I do, the more people I can help. But there are some people out there, maybe this is you, where you feel like, well, how dare I do well when there's so many people that are unwell, that don't have the means? How dare I go and do that? When someone can't make $100 in a month, how dare I make $100 in an hour? That's wild thinking, but it's in some of us. It's programmed into some of us. So he says, I didn't come into a world where everyone is going to have the same identical experience. That's exactly right. Your soul came here for this unique experience, so don't compare it to somebody else's. That soul is learning a different lesson. And he says, I'll feel good, and by being uplifted, I'll help eradicate some of the suffering. Exactly right. I can't be happy when the person I really care about loves another and has abandoned me. Uh-oh. So in relationships, when relationships end, what do you do? Well, he says, feeling bad won't change this scenario. I trust that love will return to my life if I'm in harmony with the loving source. I choose to feel good right now and focus on what I have rather than what's missing. When you focus on what's missing, you'll get more of what's missing. When you focus on what you have, you'll get more of that. All right, he gave us 10 steps, and well, we got 4 minutes, so there's definitely not enough time to go through these steps, but I really thought, what was your favorite step? Like, go look at it right now. There were so many good ones. Rule number 6, keeping that in mind. So I'll remind you of the steps. Remember that your natural state is joy. Your thoughts, not the world, cause you stress. Number 3, you can change your thoughts of stress in any given moment and eliminate the anxiety for the next few moments or even hours or days. When you hear your step that you like, put it in the chat. Step 4, monitor your stressful thoughts by checking on your emotional state right now. So this constant, you can even set an alarm throughout the day. Just, how am I feeling now? How am I feeling now? Monitor yourself. Step 5, make a conscious choice to select a thought that will activate good feelings. Number 6, spend your time observing babies and vow to emulate their joy. Number 6 is mine. I look at kids and I'm like, they're still so close to the divine. And look at how happy they are. I absolutely love it. Number 7 is keep rule number 6 in mind. Number 8, accept the guidance of your source of intention. Number 7, practice being in silence and meditation. And step 10, as always, stay in a state of gratitude. Leah's like number 7, rule number 6. Peg says, sometimes suffering is associated with being spiritual, martyrdom. Well, careful. I think that, as we know, intention is abundant and wants us to be abundant. So, slippery slope there with that. For me, it's like thinking about babies. You want to know what it looks like to be in bliss and to be happy. How do babies react moment to moment? They're just happy. Like, they accept everybody. They're happy to see everybody. They're just happy. All right. I thought this was interesting what he ended with. I slept and dreamt that life was joy. I awoke and saw that life was service. I acted and behold, service was joy. Remembering that you will find joy in the service of others is what he's saying. Peg says, babies are bliss mirrors. They are. They're so cute. You feel good not because the world is right, but your world is right because you feel good. I thought that was another really good quote. Remembering that it's all up here. So whether you are going to practice gratitude, whether you are going to remind yourself of rule number 6, whether you are going to look at babies and think about babies anytime that you get upset, like, no, operate in the world like they do. Whatever it is, start practicing it. Next week, we're going to talk about chapter 12. I love this. Leah says, I am addicted to the feeling of joy. Marie says, yes, gratitude is good. It changes so many things. Charlotte says, serving others will always help. Yeah. Bliss is joy plus love, Peg says. All right. Chapter 12. It's my intention to attract ideal people and divine relationships. Well, hot dog. He is so good. That is a pretty short chapter. It's like 14 pages. So that's what we're going to be learning about this week. As you have favorites, quotes or anything, please drop them in the our Telegram chat. I am still getting used to the Telegram chat, so sorry I'm not more active in there. It will be my intention to be more active in there. But I appreciate you all. Great conversation today. Always insightful, this man. And I hope that you can start applying it. And just rule number 6, don't take yourself so seriously. All right, guys, lots of love. I will see you in a week, if not before. And I hope you have a beautiful, beautiful day.